This hire, the offensive line coach, is going to be an impact hire for this staff and for this organization. And it's a critical hire because we need to deliver for the most critical part, I think, of our football team. That's the offensive line. So we're going to spend a lot of time isolating this position and trying to find the right guy.
Today's episode is from last night's C.O.O.L clinic with Jon Gruden, and I think the way he put this together really was impactful and an example of how you can put together your teach tapes as you present things to your players. I think he shows an example here of something that as he's talking, there's always video going on, but it's not just a playlist where you watch things back and forth. He's trying to make an impact, and I think in today's video-driven world, this is a great example of how you might teach in the future. Besides that, he gives some incredible information for what you are looking for when hiring an offensive line coach or when you are being interviewed to be an offensive line coach. So an outstanding presentation here, a ton of information. This is just the first 15 minutes of it. Go to cool2022.coachesclinic.com to get the whole thing. So here's Coach Jon Gruden.
All of you people out there that I can't see, it's disappointing. This is my first Zoom clinic with the C.O.O.L Club, and Bob Wiley, as you all know, is coach for the Jets, the Bucks, the Bears, the Browns, the Bengals, the Cardinals, the Broncos. Hell, he coached Winnipeg, Saskatchewan, and Ottawa. The guy went to Roger Williams College. So what an honor to be here. And I mean that sincerely. Obviously, I'm not coaching at the present time, but I'm here at my laboratory studying football almost every single day. I've been asked to talk to everybody today about what to look for in an offensive line coach. When I did get hired in Oakland in 1998, I also had to be a big part of hiring a staff. And hiring an offensive line coach is a tough task. There's no doubt about it. Had to do the same thing in Tampa. And obviously, when I went back to coaching a few years ago, I had to do this for a third time. But I'm just trying to share a few things as Coach Wiley asked me to, and what maybe are some of the things that I was looking for in an offensive line coach. Not that I have all the answers. Believe me, I know that is a fact. But perhaps there's some things that can help you, maybe things that you can think about when you get that next interview for that big offensive line job that you want. But I'm looking for a lot. This is a critical hire. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a tape, and I'm going to cover a lot of ground with the candidates for this offensive line position. I'm going to have some clips of some of the plays that maybe you ran previously, some questions about how you picked that blitz up, what that blocking scheme was, who blew the protection, etc. There's no way you could prepare for it. So I think the point I'm making to you is just relax, enjoy the next hour, and think about some of the things that we're going to cover. This hire, the offensive line coach, is going to be an impact hire for this staff and for this organization. And it's a critical hire because we need to deliver for the most critical part, I think, of our football team. That's the offensive line. So we're going to spend a lot of time isolating this position and trying to find the right guy. Number one, knowledge. Obviously, you got to have a lot of knowledge about offensive line play, things that are going on in the league, just a vast amount of knowledge. And that's just a broad word right there. We'll drill it down here in a minute. But I'm talking about, most importantly, are you on the quest for knowledge? The one thing I loved about Bill Callahan when we hired him in Philadelphia is he was always on a mission to get more knowledge. And that's how Bill Walsh trained Mike Holmgren, and that's how Mike Holmgren trained us. Knowledge is power, and you got to go get us some knowledge. And I think that's really important. I'm looking for an offensive line coach that's in there early, in there late at night, for no other reason than he's trying to get better. He's trying to find a new scheme, find a new drill, find a new way to pick up a blitz, whatever it may be. And I'm also trying to find out, does this guy think he knows everything? there's a lot of us today that have cell phones and we have Google, and we can become, I don't know, we can become one of those guys that has all the answers set in your ways. And usually those are the relationships that didn't work for me. Those are the relationships in 9 years of broadcast and Monday Night Football that I saw fail around the league. But I'm looking for a guy that has an open mind, that really has a passion for always learning, because this game is changing, man. The rules are changing. The way they enforce the rules are changing. And obviously player safety issues are making it tough on all of us. So we have to find guys that can adapt. Most importantly, I'm looking for compatibility. We're going to spend a lot of time together. I mean, a lot, in very difficult situations, high pressure situations. And I don't just want to get along with the person I'm interviewing. I want that guy to get along with me. I'm a pain in the ass, and I hate to admit it, but I get very emotional, and sometimes I say stupid things. Sometimes I email stupid things, but I'm looking for somebody that is very compatible, somebody that has, I think, a lot of similar traits that I have. And I'm a pretty simple person, but just somebody I like to see every day at the office. We have to be able to work together, and we have to be able to put together a system of offense that enhances the abilities of our team. And the offensive line coach, the quarterback coach, the play caller, we have to work in concert like fine-tuned instruments. You all have been on staffs and heard of staffs where they're just not in sync. And it's a destructive, horrific job to have. So I'm going to really spend a few minutes not even talking about X's and O's. I want to find out if these things mean something to the guy I'm talking to, and hopefully they register. I also want to find out with this offensive line coach, do you really want to coach the line? Some of these line coaches, no disrespect, they want to be head coaches. They want to be coordinators. They want to learn the passing game. And I think ambition is a huge part of being great. But this is an offensive line position that we have open here. We're looking for a guy that can come in here and change the culture of our offensive line for the better, develop players, and help us have a disciplined, physical group of badasses. And I'm looking for somebody that really wants that title and that job description first. I want to be perfectly clear with that. Obviously, the last couple things I want to hit with these words before we get into some of the video is you wouldn't be here interviewing with us if you didn't have a great work ethic. But I like the offensive line coach to lead the charge on the staff in terms of being in the building early and obviously making sure before he leaves that everything is finished, everything is tight, and everything is organized. And loyalty, obviously, we're going to have to work hard, and we're going to have to share in the good and share in the bad and share in the tough times. But hard work and loyalty, those are two things that are really important to me in terms of every man that we hire, particularly for this critical position. There's no time for crisis management. I'm not interested in having staff meetings and breakdowns. It's 4th and 2. We're going for it. The right offensive tackle, the right eligible tight end jumps off sides. I don't need the receiver coach and the quarterback coach blaming the line coach and fist fights and bullshit on the sidelines. There is no crisis management. We're going to go for it on 4th and 1. The offensive line coaches say, hey, let's run the power wham. It's going to get stuffed. Something bad is going to happen. We don't have time to have a crisis management professor come down there and make sure everybody's okay. We got to have a thick skin, a mental toughness, and we got to be able to be loyal to one another. And I just show a couple plays like this just to make sure that we have a chance to collaborate and talk about some of these issues because they're really important in a long football season. I go back to Bill Walsh and the West Coast offense. And for many years in San Francisco, he would come out of the tunnel. He was a great coach. And one of the things that made him great is he had the same offensive line coach every year. And Bill Walsh had Bob McKittrick. And I think if you talk to Bob Wiley or Bill Muir, some of the veteran line coaches that are out there, they will all tell you that Bob McKittrick, although he's no longer with us, is a legendary badass. This guy was a phenomenal teacher, a phenomenal tactician. Hell, he even moved the Crowther sled. But every head coach that has a great track record, I think, has a hell of an offensive line coach. Joe Bugle and Coach Gibbs, they worked in concert together many years in Washington. It's a battery that you have to have. Most of the good plays that I called in my years as a head coach, I had Bill Callahan or Bill Muir with me. And it's that battery, it's that day-to-day concentration and focus, I think, that really helped us do some good things. So this hire is paramount. You can't underestimate how important the battery between the play caller and the offensive line coach is. I look at some of these offensive line coaches that are out there today. You got to be able to adapt. You have to be able to adapt. We may hire a guy with some run and shoot background like Kevin Gilbride, and you're going to have to adapt to that. You may go work for Rex Ryan, a great defensive coach. He might have different thoughts about how we're going to practice or how we're going to approach a game. You got to be able to adapt to that. You may work for Sean Payton when he comes back and coaches. He's a maniacal preparation freak. He's going to be in there all night with candles, and you're not leaving until the candle is burnt out. So you got to get ready to match his intensity, and you got to be able to match his schedule. You might go work for Steve Spurrier if he comes back, and they may start drawing plays the night before the game or at halftime, and you got to adapt to that. So that word adapt, I think, is really important to being a great offensive line coach, because there's a million ways to skin a cat, as you all know. Chip Kelly, hell, he may never huddle. He might run 7 plays in the first 3 seconds of the game. They're trying to get you with tempo. So you got to coach on the field differently than you've ever coached before. But I think your knowledge of the game, your ability to go out and acquire knowledge, will improve your versatility, where you can adapt to any one of these guys and do a great job. Very important, I would ask you, your philosophy, your history in developing players. Tell me about a player that you developed. Maybe a guy's a freshman, or maybe a guy that changed positions, a former defensive lineman. Tell me about how important developing players is. And I'll ask you your history, your willingness, your eagerness to be a big part of player development. And we won't rush through this. Usage of time. Think about this. When someone comes and watches you practice, are you utilizing all the time that you have? Every year I was in the NFL, I'd go to the owners' meetings and they would say practices have to be shorter. We can't have as many padded practices. We can't have as many spring practices. We can't have as many preseason games. So let me tell you, when they do give you time to go out and practice, you got to steal time in pre-practice. You got to steal time in post-practice. Sometimes when the defense is out there working, are you able to steal 6 or 7 minutes and go work on some pass sets or some things to take advantage of your time? I want people to come and watch us practice and walk away and say, damn, that offensive line coach, he sure got the best out of that time. I want you to think about your walkthroughs. Think about how you're going to get your reps. Repetition is the mother of learning. And we, in the off season in particular, might have 2 fields going at once. When you're on one field, where's the assistant offensive line coach? Is it assistant offensive line coach, or do you use the tight end coach? Who's going to be your other set of eyes? Because we need to get as many reps as possible. If you don't have 2 fields going, are you watching the play side? Is he watching the back side? Are you with the tackles and tight ends? Is he with the guards and centers? The battery of men that communicate with these offensive line has to be crystal clear and tight. Very important. But I don't know if you have an assistant offensive line coach. A lot of these college programs use graduate assistants. his role, whoever it is, needs to be clearly defined, and how he's coaching has to be completely in sync with the words that you're using, obviously. We don't need any surprises. We don't need any surprises whatsoever when we're talking with our offensive linemen. But remember, repetition is the mother of learning. And just an example, we might go YMO to I left. We might run 99 boss, and we're having a walkthrough on one field, and we're trying to simulate pad level. We're trying to crystallize our communication, but we're running YMO to I left 99 boss, and we're working on our targets. We're working on our pad level. We're working on our aiming points, our play side and backside, outside zone blocking. And on the other field, obviously we have it from 3 or 4 different angles. On the other field, there's Marcus Mariota running YMO to I left, same play, 99 boss. Very similar, but my point is, where are your eyes? Where's the assistant offensive line coach's eyes? Whoever you're using, how can we manufacture as many quality reps as we can when we're in our walkthrough mentality?
If you didn't sign up for the C.O.O.L Clinic, I highly recommend doing that, in addition to this outstanding talk, which was truly unique, from Coach Gruden. We had Kevin Carberry from the Los Angeles Rams talking about the duo play. He did an outstanding job in the way he went through that and showed drill film and then game film and how things work out from the chalkboard all the way to the grass, as Coach Wiley likes to say. We had Marty Costello, who led the Winnipeg Blue Bombers offensive lineman to a CFL championship in the Grey Cup. His is on inside zone. Another outstanding job in the way he put his presentation together. And then we have Andy Heck from the Kansas City Chiefs last night, who talked about 3, 5, and 7-step protection, showed the drills, showed what it looked like on game film. Again, outstanding insight into the game from all of these coaches. Day 2 continues today. You get all the replays as part of this as well, and access for 1 month to the new C.O.O.L Plus, which will be on CoachTube. I did say that this was an outstanding example of how to put together a presentation to teach and really be impactful in what you're doing in front of your players or in front of an audience. And another tool which I believe is highly effective for that is Recon Sports. Their analysis tool helps you put together your game plan. It helps your players learn what they're going to need to do on game night and puts that into something that gives them the visuals along with the video. And it does some things for you as one offensive line coach or as one coach who has to put the data in. It will add additional columns through the way they have their software set up and allow you for better breakdown. Check the show notes for a link to get a demo. I highly recommend it. Check it out at getreconsports.com. Follow me on Twitter at Coach K. Grabowski, and follow All We're Doing at coachandcoordinator.com.